Hello, and welcome to Healing Gals podcast. Is this on? Very Britney of me. Welcome to Healing Gals podcast, the podcast where we reconnect to who we were before the world got their hands on us. I am your host, Molly Smith, and today, this is my very first video podcast episode. So I want to do this episode and do a full run through from recording all the way through to completion, uploading, and give you all a bonus episode about things that I was wrong about, of which there are many. I was recently on Caitlin Dibley's podcast called A Place in the World, and one of the last questions she asked me on the episode was, what do you wish people knew? Or it was some question to that effect. And I wish people knew how to be wrong. I think the state of the world at the moment, the state of families and the way things, relationships break down and how kind of systems break down and stuff is because people are so committed to being right about things, because people want to be able to say, I was right about that, because being wrong means something to them that when I try and think back of times, like, because certainly I used to be committed to being right. I think that's a stage that you have to go through as a teenager, you know. As a teenager, you're naturally egocentric because you don't have the resources, the money, all of the things that you need to meet your needs. So you're programmed developmentally to only meet your needs. So if you ever think about yourself as a teenager and think about kind of the selfish things that you did or the, whatever, have compassion for that little gal. That's a stage of development that you go through when you have to just think about yourself. You haven't learned how to think in a wider scale yet because you are developing and you are making sure that you meet your own needs. So a healthy teenager will actually be quite selfish, and as they grow up and their brain develops, they'll move into another stage of development where they start to learn to consider people outside of themselves a bit more, and hopefully by adulthood you have that empathy and that consideration down if you've been taught good values. So one of the things that I want people to know about is being wrong. I think the world would be a safer place. I think it would be a better place if we knew how to just be like, oh, I've learned some new information. I thought this at one stage and now there's this new data, science, research, lived experience, whatever. And now I've learned something new. So I was previously wrong. Oopsie. My bad. It's not possible for me to be right all the time. So of course I was wrong. So I wanted to make an episode then about things that I've been wrong about, and let's have a little discussion. Some of them are fun, some of them are a bit deeper, and this is very Healing Gals vibes, So yeah, let's get stuck into it. The first thing that I was wrong about was Dax Shepard. If you listen to earlier episodes of the podcast, I spoke about, wait, let me just fix myself. Maybe I should have a mirror. Oh, I'm beautiful. That's great. Learn to be able to say that about yourself. It's a game changer. I was wrong about Dax Shepard. Previously, if you've listened to earlier episodes of the podcast, I went through a phase of solely listening to Dax Shepard's podcast, The Armchair Expert. If you don't know who that is, he is an actor and a podcaster who is quite successful, and he's married to Kristen Bell, who is another wonderful actress. She was in a movie called Burlesque. She was in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. She was Veronica Mars, if you're of that vintage. I was wrong to recommend him on his podcast because actually he is one of the men that are pretending that he is this wholesome person who is very insightful and all of that stuff. And I go back and forth on whether that's possible or not, if behind closed doors you treat your partner like shit, and it seems that he absolutely does. And the interesting thing about Kristen and Dax's relationship, they speak publicly about it, and when they speak about the warts and all of their relationship, she's actually describing abuse, and they think that it's this kind of natural thing that people aren't talking about and they're removing the taboo. I disagree. And when certain things started to come to light about Dax Shepard, I felt that sinking feeling that I have felt multiple times when I have promoted a man or recommended a man's work, only to find out that he is abusive in some form to women. And I don't tolerate anyone that's abusive to women. I couldn't have less interest in advocating for men who don't advocate for women. I could not have less interest. It makes me feel sick, actually. And that's not like, it makes me feel sick like this dramatic thing. When I interact with a man who presents himself as this ally to women or this advocate for women, and then I recommend them on my podcast or whatever, and then upon further inspection, they're not actually an ally. They're putting out a facade about how wonderful an ally they are, but when you dig a little deeper, not so much. And I know the behaviours of somebody who is a real ally, who knows that standing up for women and putting your neck on the line and being willing to lose opportunities or whatever in the interest of supporting women. I know the language that they use, I know how they talk. They're people that I admire. When you scratch the surface and that language isn't there and that there's a resistance to that kind of thing, I know what I'm dealing with. So Dax Shepard is one of those men. So let's talk about the things that has come up that I have found to be abhorrent and why I am removing my stamp of approval for Dax Shepard. He had recently on his podcast Cher, and Cher and Kristen Bell are actually quite good friends, it appears, from watching the clips of that episode with Cher on Dax Shepard's podcast, The Armchair Expert. If you want to Google this, you can go and watch the clips yourself. But essentially, in that episode, he put Cher on the spot, and that's a dangerous person. If you are lucky enough to be able to share the energy of an incredible woman and you use that time to embarrass her, put her on the spot or make her uncomfortable, you're a dangerous person. And when he had Cher on his episode, he outright asked her, who does she think would be better suited to marry Kristen Bell? Because you clearly don't think it's me. And he said it now in a tone that could almost pass for friendly, but think of the message of that. It's clear from the clip that Cher had confided in Kristen Bell that Dax Shepard isn't it, that he's not great. Maybe from conversations they've had as friends. I'm speculating, I don't know these facts for sure, but that's how it comes across, that's how it seems. And he put Cher in this awkward position and asked her, and Cher said, I don't know, you tell me, I don't know. And Kristen Bell does something that women do when we are nervous, when we know that something now has come to light that we're going to pay for later on when our husband, and when we are in private with our husband, we're going to pay for this later on. She did this kind of like, no, she has never thought that. How would you know what Cher has thought about, gal? How would you know? You wouldn't. I would never, ever, ever say about another human being, they've never thought of that. I don't know what they think. I'm not in their mind. And saying something like that is quite extreme, you know? To claim that you know what this person has thought about, what they haven't thought about, you've lost a connection there to a rational discussion in an effort to please or appease this man. That just gave me such a red flag. When them clips were going around, I was like, whoa. And then upon further inspection, I actually pulled up this clip of Kristen Bell at an interview with Justin Long, who was in like How to Lose a Guy. Anyway, Justin Long, he's another actor. He was in like those, I think he was in like those American Pie movies, or he's in those kind of American kind of things. Anyway, here is Kristen Bell discussing a fight that she has had with Dax, where they both were screaming at each other and the volume got extremely high and they both blacked out in anger and couldn't remember what happened in the fight. Now, to me, that is insane. That is insane. First of all, why is there screaming going on in your house? Gals, I don't know what kind of houses you are living in, and I don't know what your relationships are like, but screaming at each other is not normal. I've only learned this now in the last few years, since I'm in a healthy relationship and I'm in a healthy marriage. I have never been screamed at in this relationship. Kev has never screamed at me. Has he got angry? Of course. Anger is a normal emotion. Have we had arguments and disagreements? It would be insane to not have arguments and disagreements. But we take space. If things are getting heated or things are getting, contentious, space until we're calm. We're not discussing this until we're calm. I have no interest in being in a relationship where a man is screaming at me, or vice versa. I don't want to be in a relationship where I am driven to screaming at someone to be heard. So this is what she had to say about the argument. I think it was about 2 towels in a dryer.
Do fight, we do go to therapy, we dislike each other a lot sometimes.
Do you ever sit with that too long, that not liking each other? I would imagine that dissipates.
No. In fact, we had this pretty incredible fight recently. Incredible. I mean,
Please
top of the lungs screaming.
Can you talk about it?
Sure, why not?
Top of the lungs screaming. An incredible fight. Top of the lungs screaming. You got 2 kids in that gaff, gal.
It was about things around the house that I felt I needed help with. I left a note and I was like, hey, Dad, would you mind taking the 2, I'm holding up 2 because that's how many there were, towels in the dryer and folding them, and then one other thing, right? And I thought, that's 10 minutes of work. I can say that. I left this note, and then I came home on Sunday, everything was fine. Monday night, we're laying in bed, and he turns over, and I know I can sense him like a puppy can sense when you're about to get angry. I can sense it in him 2 seconds before it happens. And he goes, when you leave me notes, yeah, I feel really controlled.
You feel controlled because your wife left you a note to do a task in the house that you're both living in. You feel controlled. That's the sign of a dangerous man. That's really dangerous. In my opinion, if you can't say to your partner, here, you wouldn't mind taking the towels out, and it's 2 towels. It's 2 towels in a dryer. You wouldn't mind taking the towels out of the dryer when they're done, would you? If that ends in him feeling controlled and a screaming match, Molly, you in danger, girl.
And he launched into how he felt about it. Yeah, and his nostrils flare. That's how you know he's mad.
His nostrils flared over 2 towels.
Said to myself immediately, don't react. And I said, okay, I totally hear you. It will never happen again. If I need something.
It will never happen again. It will never happen again that I'll leave you a note asking you to just do a job in the house because I'm leaving. It will never happen again.
To be done around the house, what is a way that I could do it that you'd be okay with hearing? What's a better way I could do it? Then we both blacked out and got into a fight, and I don't actually remember what happened, but what transpired was a lot of volume, a lot of harsh words being thrown around, and it was an angry fight. Grabbed my pillow and I stomped on the hall and I sleep in the front room and I'm crying, right? And we don't talk for 3 days.
3 days. They don't talk for 3 days. Don't tell me that's a safe man. Don't tell me that's a safe man. You don't talk for 3 days over 2 towels. Run, gal. Run.
Straight days with kids. How do you do that?
So that was another thing. I also heard Kristen Bell talking on a podcast. Basically, they were speaking about cheating, and she was saying, I don't like cheating, I don't want that in my relationship, etc., etc. And Dax said to her, well, would you rather cheat on you or drink drive with our kids in the car? And she was like, see, that's when I thought it's not really that big a deal. What are you talking about? That's deflection. Those 2 things are not related. I need to find the clip. Give me a sec.
Break it down.
Okay, you ready for a moral dumbfounding, love?
Yeah.
The secret affair. A happily married person has a one-night stand while on a trip. They use protection, never tell their spouse, and the affair never affects their relationship in any way. The marriage remains strong and loving. Is this morally wrong? Well, this whole thing was a trap.
I feel I should preface this with I didn't always feel this way.
Right.
Because when I met you, I was a very jealous person.
So let's just pay attention to what she says now, okay? we're talking about cheating. That you heard the scenario that was just recommended there. So now she's saying I didn't used to be this way until Dax gave me this piece of this kind of thing to think about, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't mind cheating it. Well, let me just let her speak, okay? This is manipulation and deflection.
And I was bending to the subconscious rules society had given me of television shows of like, my boyfriend cheated on me, girl, get him out of the house, in no fucking way. You asked me the question of kind of a would you rather, if I slept with someone versus if I drove our kids drunk. And that put everything in perspective. I was like, if you had an affair, I feel like we could get through that.
Right.
If you drove my kids drunk, you're packing up.
Oh, Dex.
That's just mental. That's mad. And I think that people don't realise when they're being manipulated a lot of the time. Certainly when I was being manipulated, I didn't realise, but now I have critical thinking. And now I know that when someone is speaking to me about a topic, we stay on the topic. We're staying on the topic. If we have an issue to discuss, we keep the topic at hand. If somebody starts bringing in, a past situation, a hypothetical situation, especially an unrelated hypothetical situation, I don't fall for that kind of manipulation and deflection. And the fact that she is openly on podcasts, just talking about these things and not seeing that, as clever as she is, as successful as she is, it's I just find it really sad. I want better for women. I don't want women to be with people like him. And I can't believe that I used to just, anyone that would, like any time I got into a topic around, healing or, podcasts, whatever, straight away I would recommend Armchair Expert. That's dangerous. That's really dangerous. What has a hypothetical cheating situation got to do with, would you rather I cheated or I drove our kids drunk? And it's like, oh, the cheating things don't bother now. That's crazy, girl. That's crazy, girl. So I was wrong about Dax Shepard, and I want to remove my stamp of approval from Dax Shepard. It's removed. Okay, the next thing that I was wrong about. Representation of black women on my podcast. I've only had one black woman on my podcast for 5 seasons now. Season 6, I'm going to change that. I believe that representation is very important, of course, and all of those things. But having 5 seasons of only white women on the podcast does not represent my feelings about women as a whole. I love black women. I think that we can learn a lot from black women. I think we enjoy so many things from black culture. So my goal this season is to have more black women on the podcast. Not as like any sort of ridiculous token black people or whatever. Out of my love for black women, if you go to my social media and look at my repost page, or if you could see my algorithm, it's all black women. It's black women singing, it's black women doing hair. Those videos of hair transformations for black women are so satisfying to me. Their point of view about so many things is so much more in depth because they have experienced a level of oppression that we haven't experienced. I can't even imagine or internalize the level of oppression that they experience because, number one, they're women. I can relate to that part of their experience of oppression, but the racism part of it, it's hard to even fathom. And I follow loads of black content creators. I love black women, so I'm not like completely ignorant to their experience. I love to hear about their experience. I love to support them. I love to repost them. I comment all the time on black women's videos. I love you, gal. You're amazing. You're a queen. I also just really enjoy how in depth they think about things and they talk about things because they have a deeper experience of oppression. So that was a mistake on my part. I think like doing the podcast, I'm just like, reaching out to people. Let's do an episode. And I actually don't have a reason for why I don't have more black women on the podcast, but that's about to change and the season will be richer because of them. So thank you, our black queens. We love you. And if you are racist, let me just, if you're a racist and you don't like people because of the colour of their skin, or you're silly enough to fall for the narrative that is being pushed out, that people with darker skin are some issue or are here to take something that doesn't belong to them, etc. You've fallen for something. You've been duped. Think about two babies. Think about a white baby. Think about how cute, gorgeous. Think about little white babies. The cutest things you've ever seen. Now think about a little black baby. The cuteness, the gorgeousness, their little toes, their little face. Think how gorgeous they are. Are you telling me that there is something inherently less valuable about that black baby? If that's your point of view, you need help, and don't listen to this podcast. Then there's another level to that. Everyone can kind of get on board that babies are inherently valuable, equally valuable, right? But if you think that as black people get older, like you think the baby's valuable, once they get into to be like older children, teenagers, adults, they're less valuable. Think about why. Think about why you would think that. Anybody that engages in racist behaviour or shouts anything at black people, go, you're not Irish, you need help. And you've no business listening to this podcast. So, just letting you know, I hate racism and I should be including more black women and brown women in conversations on my podcast, and I would be privileged to do so. So, I was wrong, my bad. The next thing. Oh, this is okay. Something that I was wrong about. I wrote telling Kev to stay in contact with me. So, if you've listened to the earlier episodes of the podcast, I was very badly cheated on by a previous partner. I was with him for like 2.5 years. I found out that he was living a whole double life. He had another full girlfriend, but outside of that, he had like all these other women that he was seeing, and a lot of them have gotten in touch with me as the podcast has grown. Okay, so I've spoken to loads of them, and a couple of them we're mates now. We're mates. My girls, my queens, and that's really fun. If anything, I've gotten more connection with women out of that shit show, so thanks for that. But when I got with Kev, I suppose I was still healing from that awful situation that I was involved in, and when Kev would go on nights out, I would expect him to keep in touch with me, and naturally in the first few months that we were together, he was, because he like couldn't stop talking to me. He was mad about me, still is. Oh my god, I'm not crying, my eyelash just got stuck together. But yeah, so Kev, my precious angel husband that I love so much, he went on a stag do like a few months in, and I didn't hear from him for the night. He went out, they had a fucking great time, whatever. The next day I was like, don't bother calling my phone. You think you think you're gonna call my phone after not talking to me for the whole night? That's not a relationship I want to be in. And when I was on the podcast, I'm like, set your boundaries, girl, blah, blah, blah. Now, I just feel I was wrong about it. I feel like I was healing quite a wounded Molly, quite an upset one. I was healing quite a hurt Molly, and I was worried, of course, consciously and subconsciously, that was going to happen to me again, and I found it really difficult to trust, so I needed that check-in on a night out. We're now married almost 2 years. We're together 5 or so years. 2021. Yeah, we got together in 2021. So now there's no need for us to keep in touch on a night out. There is absolutely inherent trust. I was wrong, and I was wrong to be putting the message out to the gals like, you know, set your boundary and tell him he needs to keep in touch with you. If I'm on a night out, I'm not texting Kev. I'm dancing. I'm not even thinking about Kev. I'm out with the gals. You'll catch me on the dance floor. I definitely, out of safety, will text him on my way home, or like, you know, if there's something like, if he's collecting me, you know he's hearing from me. But like, you know, there's not like this out of a duty or out of like soothing my wounds or whatever, he needs to keep in touch with me. Now it's very much go and enjoy yourself. You don't need to contact me. I do appreciate a text to say that he's in and he's safe, just like, you know, but yeah. I was wrong. Hands up. Okay, the next thing that I was wrong about. Expecting perfection from hurt people. I've learned that All that actually matters is that little Molly knows that I stand up for her and I chose a husband and friends that don't betray me. This has been a huge lesson for me, okay? So, I don't know where you are on your healing journey, but in my healing journey, I used to get really upset when hurt people, which is what they are. If somebody is abusive or manipulative or whatever, that's a hurt person. That's not a healthy person. Healthy people don't carry on like that. So expecting hurt people to behave perfectly, to do the right thing, to stand up for me, even though that's my mom or that's my brother or whatever, expecting hurt people to behave perfectly is a futile exercise. They're not going to. And every time I would be hurt by somebody that I am expecting them to do the right thing or behave perfectly or whatever. It's not, and I don't mean behave perfectly in the sense of like, you know, whatever perfect means. I mean like do the right thing, you know, like the right thing in a situation where, you know, for example, one of the main reasons that my relationship broke down with my mum is she had introduced a new person to the family and I found that person quite dangerous. Their alcohol intake quite dangerous, their behaviour quite dangerous. They offended me, offended my sister, insulted my sister, and spoke in a very disgusting way to my nephew, all in the first time that we were sitting down with this person for a family meal. And straight away, and they were drunk, really drunk, and straight away I said to myself and to the people around me, I said, if this is this person's first time coming to integrate into our family at a family dinner, and this is their behaviour, this is the time when they're on their best behaviour. This is the time when they should be fixing a tie there, on their best behaviour. If this is their best behaviour, this is going to get quite dangerous. So I'm out. I won't be around this person. If you still want to be around this person, I won't be around you when you're with them. I still want to have a relationship with you, but that person I would be keeping far away from me because that is a dangerous person. Turns out they were a dangerous person. There was terrible things that happened in relation to that person, and hate to say I told you so, but you know. So in that situation, I would have expected my mum to acknowledge my experience, do the right thing. You know, I'm sure you can fill in the blank what you think the right thing is. My mum chose not to do that for her own reasons, for her own whatever. I'm not going to go too much into detail about that, but that is my experience of that situation, and I expected for my mum to do the right thing because I'm her daughter and I believe I should be the priority or whatever, and that caused me a lot of pain because I was expecting something different. But now that I've learned that you can't expect perfect behaviour from hurt people, now when things like this happen, I'm like, yeah, well, that's a hurt person, of course. Like, I've learned to not expect it. Expect it sounds like I'm saying, you know, it's okay or something. Certainly not. But I just have learned that people are going to be people and hurt people are going to be hurt people. Is this my cup of tea? Hey. Thank you. Thanks, Kev. I have the best husband in the world. We're going to chat about him in a few minutes. But expecting my mum to do anything other than what a hurt person would do is only causing pain for myself. So what I've realised is, now that I have learned to love myself and honour myself, and if you haven't heard me say this before, similar to the way that doctors and nurses take an oath, first do no harm, I have taken an oath, first don't betray yourself. I don't betray myself anymore. So like I said in this thing, all that matters is that little Molly knows that I stand up for her and I choose the people around me, my husband and my friends, that don't betray me. My husband, my friends and my family, that should say. Because I still have wonderful relationships with other family members who don't betray me and who acknowledge my experience and validate my experience and behave in a safe way around me and have safe people around me also. So yeah, that has kind of given me a lot of freedom in my experience or in my journey of healing. I'm coming to like a say, and like ultimately the journey of healing or going through this healing process is just to get to a life where you have peace that there isn't crisis after crisis, that there isn't upset after upset, that there isn't toxic interactions that get swept under the rug because the next crisis has arrived and you just have to get over it and support whatever this crisis is. I don't live a life like that anymore. Ultimately, your healing journey or your process of healing or your therapy or, you know, your self-reflection, your self-awareness, your self-love will bring you to a life where you are just surrounded by people who want the best for you, who want you to be safe, who want you to live a good life, the life that you deserve, where you get to design your life. And when you come up against obstacles, that the people in that circle just support, validate, protect, provide, love, you know, do things with you, enjoy life with you. You know, that's what it's about. And now that I get that, my experience of being upset by, you know, situations with estranged family members, etc., it doesn't get me so upset anymore. I can live a functional life now. I don't have to get so upset and be like, why are they doing this? Why is it happening like this? I would never do this to them. If they told me that they were upset like this, I would do X, Y, and Z. I would listen. I would try. I would, you know, hurt people don't operate like that. And that has to be okay, because otherwise you're in for a life of suffering. And I'm not signing up for that. So yeah, that was a big realization, huge. So I was wrong to expect perfection from hurt people, and you might take something from that for yourself because you deserve a good life. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Something else that I was wrong about. I would have always said, so I have multiple journals at any given time. There's probably 4 of them on the go because I have ideas all the time. So I like to have one with me in my bag. I like to have one in the car. There's one in my bedroom. And at different times I'm writing in different ones. And I would have always said that, like, handwriting things. I said handwriting while doing the typing motion. Make it make sense. Let me have a sup of this gorgeous tea. I would have said that handwriting things is more therapeutic. It's more, you know, whatever. I have recently been diagnosed with dyslexia, which makes loads of sense for loads of different kind of experiences that I had in school and stuff like that, and in my life. And it's a sequencing difficulty, so like it makes sense. So much makes sense. I'm sure you've heard loads of people say that when they've got their ADHD diagnosis or autism or whatever beautiful neurodivergency they've been gifted that everything starts to make sense. This will certainly make sense for me. It was a couple of years ago I got diagnosed. So my writing, it's not horrendous. Like, it's not the worst thing you've ever seen in your life, but and it's not even really about handwriting. What I was wrong about when I thought that handwriting was best, I recently had a difficulty, as we do in life. And it was a situation that happened outside of my house. Myself, Kev and Brooke were gone to a celebration of a sort. And while I was at that celebration, somebody said something so disrespectful to me. Like I can't figure out any other intention than just to kind of demean me or disrespect me, sitting at a table. I came home, I was so upset. I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe somebody had the audacity to say what they said. It was brutal. And that on its own isn't that big a deal, but it brought up like all the times that like I've been disrespected by men, all the times that I've been disrespected by my brother or my mom's partner or something, and nobody stuck up for me. You know, it brought up so many different things for me. I had like a few hours of, it was late at night, we came home, I spoke to Kev, we went to bed. The next day, Kev advocated for me. He put in a boundary and said, we will never be in that situation again. He contacted the person and said, if you ever do this again, you know, it won't end well, and that here's the expectations going forward. I felt so relieved. I felt like finally somebody has my back, you know, like finally, like I have been in jobs, family situations, out in the world, disrespected by men. I've talked about it loads on the podcast, and to finally be married to somebody who thinks enough of me to say, you're not doing that to her. Like, I can't even, like, it's beautiful. It's just like, it's so nice. It's just such a nice feeling that I've chosen my partner for life is somebody who will support me like that, you know? So yeah, that whole thing happened, and it brought up a lot, like the situation on its own, that person, it doesn't really matter what they said, it doesn't really matter who they are, but all these things that it brought up for me was really upsetting. So the next day I started typing. I had gotten this new gorgeous laptop for the podcast, and I started typing, and I was like, why have I not been typing this whole time? I was able to get the words out quicker. I was covering ground in my brain that was like, it was so satisfying. I was like, brrr, and I'm good at typing, like I'm quick enough. So I was just getting all of these thoughts out so quickly. I typed like 4,500 words, and it was just a way of expressing, you know, these have been my experiences. This is what this has brought up for me, and this is how I feel. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm grateful for. This is how I'm going to get over this. Typing. It was a new little lesson for me. So now, you'll catch me typing whenever. If you see me furiously typing and there's smoke coming off my fingers, someone has upset me. Just so you know. Okay. Something else that I was wrong about. I thought that it was good enough for men to be doing therapy, and I used to really applaud men that are going through therapy, because that's difficult, you know. In a patriarchal society, men doing that kind of work is, yeah, I can acknowledge that it's difficult for them. I would say everything is more difficult for women. Not that it's a competition, but you know, it's that kind. It's giving, you know, like I would take a bullet for you, and it's like you would take a bullet for me, but would you go to therapy? Do you know what I mean? What I have now come to the realisation is, if men are not deconditioning the patriarchy, not much is happening. Because the therapy, of course, will benefit them, but on the world as a whole, we need men to start deconditioning the patriarchy. I talk to my husband about it all the time. Whenever we see any sort of patriarchal thing, behaviour, whatever, we name it. The patriarchy got them good there. That's the patriarchy. That's not real. That's not a natural way for men to be. That's the patriarchy. This is the patriarchy. That's the patriarchy. And we name it. And we have an ongoing discussion in my household about what the patriarchy is, what it isn't, and how we deconstruct that in this household. Because my daughter deserves to grow up in a home and in a world where she is not held to patriarchal norms. She is free. And ultimately, that's all I want for the gals, is for them to be free. Free to express whatever they feel, whatever thoughts they have, whatever art they have, whatever dancing, everything, poems, painting, to be able to go to nature and be safe. Women deserve to be free. So we don't like the patriarchy, and I don't give as much credit to men that are just doing therapy. I want deconditioning the patriarchy to be a part of that now. So that's just my preference. That's just a thought that I had. So just letting you know. Okay, 2 more things. The second last thing that I was wrong about, I think, I cannot remember what episode or what, was it on Instagram? I think it was an episode, but I'm not sure. I said these words out loud, which I kind of cringe at now. I was wrong to say them. I said something to the effect of, I'm not talking about a matriarchy, or I'm not expecting a matriarchy or anything, but we just want to, I think my point was like, we just want to move away from the patriarchy, but we don't want to go that far. We don't want to go to a matriarchy. Wrong. We do want a matriarchy. Matriarchy immediately. Let the whole. My God. I've been doing some more Irish talking as well, so expect a bit more of that. Let's take our language back. Let's remove all the shame from that. That'll be the next thing. But yeah, I want a matriarchy. The men are running the world into the ground. Matriarchy, immediately. And for those of you who don't know what a matriarchy is, I don't know what your algorithm is, but my algorithm gives me stuff about black women and about the matriarchy all day long. And nature. And a matriarchy is a circular structure. The patriarchy is a hierarchical structure where men are at the top, men make all the decisions, all the policies, laws, etc. are in the interest of men first, and their needs are prioritised. a matriarchal society would not be where women are at the top. We don't want that. That's not the vibe. A matriarchy is a circle. It's a circular structure where everyone is taken care of, men included. And I know that's so important to highlight because men are just so concerned about whether they're going to be taken care of or not. You will be, because we're that good. We're just that good. And in a matriarchy, we would have male leaders as long as the male leaders had values that are congruent with a healthy society. Okay, so a matriarchy refers to a social system in which women, particularly mothers or female elders, hold primary power and authority over the family group and the community. This authority extends to political leadership, moral guidance, social privilege, and control of property. True matriarchy involves women exercising actual decision-making power and authority throughout society. Let's talk about a matriarch for a minute, because I have some cute little news about this, okay? What is a matriarch? The definition of a matriarch is someone who is the female head of the family. It can also be someone who rules over a group, tribe, or activity. This is the female version of a patriarch. In matriarchal societies, matriarchs are leaders and hold essential positions that carry powerful intentions. The following are important characteristics of a matriarch. So a matriarch is independent, autonomous, nurturing, has strong communal bonds, wise, supporting, instinctual, empathetic, collaborative, assertive, charismatic, and experienced. So recently because I feel so strongly about the world operating in a matriarchy, or at least Ireland, please. Give us a matriarchy. Everyone would be so much better taken care of if we just had a matriarchy. Oh my God. Because I've been thinking so much about a matriarchy and all of that, I've also considered what being a matriarch means, and I've listed all of those characteristics of a matriarch, and that is certainly characteristics that I strive for. And I reflected on this and the fact that I'm not in a relationship with my mum, and I would have really always held my mum as like this god, this, like, I just thought she was so amazing and powerful, and she is, like, I want to be very clear, my mum is amazing. Like, my mum is an amazing woman. She has overcome some of the most difficult circumstances you could imagine. She's amazing. At the moment, her behaviour is harmful to me and my daughter, so I can't have a relationship with her, but I can objectively look at her as a woman and say, oh my God, what a woman. And anyone that's met her will agree. Like, she's very charismatic, she's so funny, she's very generous, she's, she has loads of wonderful qualities, no doubt about that. And I think that watching this, you might be like, well, what's the problem then? I've spoken about different experiences I've had with my mum, and they are just too harmful for me. That's my boundary. I cannot be around the certain things that I've experienced. So, but objectively, incredible woman, So I've thought a lot about, like, what the head of a family is. If, in my opinion, if you expose your kids to dangerous people and stuff, I don't think that that's a good head of a family. And I am obviously trying to break generational cycles of abuse within my family. And I was thinking, like, I'm the head of my family now. I am Brooke's mum. I am doing so much work to break cycles of generational problematic behaviour, generational abuse in my family line. It's not for the faint of heart. It takes so much looking at things, understanding things, giving empathy to things, holding two truths at the same time, and doing that mental gymnastics. Like, it has been a real journey, because then you fall into being the upset little gal that I still am, like, I'm still little Molly in an older body, and I've learned how to reparent my inner child. The work has been at times excruciating, but I at the same time love it, and I am thrilled to be providing a different experience to my daughter. I cannot tell you how proud I am of that. That is something that I am glad I started this work for. Already I can see my daughter's having a different life experience than the one that I had. That's all I want. I want my daughter to get to adulthood and think, I was safe, I was looked after, I was encouraged to be myself, I was free, I was not ever put to the side for the needs of a man My mum prioritised me. My mum didn't take any shit for me. My mum advocated for me. My mum loved me. My mum, I want her to see me in that way. I want her to know that as long as I am breathing on this earth, she is never alone. She will never be unsafe. I will be there in a second. So I recently got a new tattoo. She's a little cutie. It's Matriarch Oscailga. Matriarch. It is the word for matriarch Oscailga, and I am thrilled and proud to have that gorgeous tattoo. I got it done in a tattoo shop in Drogheda called Zen Tattoo with a gorgeous woman, Lorraine. We had like the chats. We had such like deep philosophical chats. We were like talking. She was like, "Why this tattoo?" I was like, "Let me tell you. Let me tell you why." And we had like the most gorgeous chats. So shout out to Lorraine. Thanks for making my experience so beautiful. And I specifically wanted to be tattooed by a woman. Any service that I'm receiving now, I want it to be by a woman. I want to give women my money. I prefer being in women's energy. That's what I want. I would love to get a female mechanic. I would love that. I despise talking to men about my car. They think I don't know anything. It's very annoying. So anything that I want to get done going forward, I'm going to seek if there is a woman available to do it. So wouldn't be like me to go off on a tangent. I sought out Lorraine. She did my tattoo. We had gorgeous conversations. I loved it. And I was really grateful to her for giving me that experience. And she also updated my woman tattoo on my chest because that hadn't healed well. So yeah, I got my and also she updated my Brooke tattoo. So I have a tattoo that says Brooke on my wrist, and underneath it is a little witch's broom because I found out that I was pregnant on Halloween Day. I got that tattoo done when she was three weeks old. She's almost 18. So when I went into the shop, Lorraine was like, "Oh, that's an old tattoo." And I was like, "Yeah, it was quite faded." And she was like, "Let's go over it today. Let's just top it up for you." Thank you, Angel. I appreciate you. So I had like 3 tattoos done that day. I was over the moon. I came home, I was like, "Look at all my tattoos." It was great. But I really wanted that matriarch tattoo because that is what I'm striving for. I want to be a leader of women. I want to congregate women. I want to empower women. I want women to know how special they are. I want women to know that they can be free. I want women to know that they can have healthy relationships, that there are healthy men available. I'm not going to pretend that there's loads of them, but there's definitely there because I've married one. Which leads me on to the last thing that I was wrong about. I was wrong that I was going to have to settle with a man that I was going to have to just tolerate. In my experience as a woman, as a girl, as a woman in the world, all the relationships that I saw was like just women tolerating bad behaviour from men. And it seemed to me that they were just choosing somebody who they would just tolerate. I don't see them thriving. I see women doing far too much work. I see women doing far too much cleaning, far too much of the household, carrying the mental load. I am seeing far too much of that. Far too much. Way too much. We should not be having to do all that work, else. And I thought that I was destined for that life also because I'm a heterosexual woman. I am interested in men. Well, we won't say the word unfortunately. Although I would have previously used the word unfortunately. But now that I have this husband, gals, I have avoided talking about this on the podcast or on my Instagram, whatever. Every so often I mention that Kev is great, and he's great. Like, he is just... So I'm just going to take a few minutes to talk about how I was wrong about the fact that I would just have to find a man that I could just tolerate and settle down, and I would have to do all this work, but that's kind of the experience of a woman. Wrong. That is not the case. I am thriving in my marriage with Kev. I am encouraged to be myself. I am encouraged to take part in hobbies that I like. I don't do the shopping. I don't do our mortgage things, all that stuff. I do keep an eye on it because I am not a fool. There's many a woman who has abdicated responsibility of financial, like money management to the husband, and he has fucked it. and they've ended up in an awful situation. I am not silly enough to do that, but my husband does everything. He carries the mental load. I'm doing enough. I have raised a daughter on my own to almost 18 years of age. I am working full time in my job that I really like. I am pursuing my own business. I have my own podcast. At every turn, when I have come up against an obstacle, Kev has taken it as a personal responsibility to help me overcome that obstacle. So, for example, I recently made a vlog. I don't know if it'll be out by the time I put this up, because this is my priority, is to get this episode recorded, edited and up, as I said at the start, as a test to see how I do all of this with this new technology. I literally went to Kev and I was like, I am stuck about my background. It doesn't look professional, it doesn't look good, etc., etc. Kev goes straight into problem solving mode. Okay, we could do this, let me pull this down. Kev lives to help me. Kev lives to make sure that my life is as comfortable and easygoing as it could possibly be. That's out there. There are men like that. That's what he does. I don't have to think about 5 million things all the time. I just have to think about my task at hand. I do my job. I walk Mabel. I do loads of things that contribute to the household. I'm not saying I do nothing, but I do not do everything. I don't even do the majority of things Kev does. That's his responsibility. I'm building something incredible for my daughter, for myself, for our family, and he sees the value in that. And he sees that it's his responsibility as my husband to support me with my dreams so that I can live a fulfilled life. And I just have to tell you, gals, I was wrong. We don't have to tolerate bad men. We don't have to get with someone who ticks some boxes and for the rest of the time, we don't have to do that. And it's a fucking dream. It's a dream. I am married and living with someone who lives to make me happy. If I'm sitting down, he's like, this is the main question Kev says to me daily. Can I get you anything? Can I get you anything? Mal, can I get you anything? I'm like, do I want anything? I'd love a cup of tea. I'd love a Sambo. I'd love my room. I don't like this thing about my room and I want to move it around. He's like, let's go. He gets up and moves the furniture. I was in the forest a few weeks ago with Kev and I said to him on a Saturday, and I said to him, you know something, I don't really like that couch in the kitchen anymore. We got this couch that was like it was a couch from Kev's mom's house. They were absolutely so generous to us and they gave us loads of stuff. Like they've been so incredible in setting us up for our life. I'm so grateful to Kev's family. I can't even tell you. And one of the gorgeous things that they gave us was this couch, because everybody told us when you're moving into your house, don't buy furniture before you move in. Move in, use whatever furniture, make do, and then as you get to know what way you want to sit in the room, where you want your telly to be, where you want the focal point to be, then buy your furniture. Great advice. We did that. So we got this couch to keep us going. Then we got our furniture, and then the couch was moved to the kitchen. Then we got Mabel, and then it turned into Mabel's couch, which I don't agree with. I don't think a dog should have a couch all to themselves. Each to their own, but it's not for me. And it was a brown suede couch, and Mabel is a blonde Labrador, American Labrador, and sheds her hair. So it was just like a brown couch covered in hair all the time. So I was trying to like get a cover for it and all this kind of thing, but when she'd come in, she'd jump straight on the couch and it'd get mucky, and then you take the cover off and then she's on the couch itself and you're cleaning that down. And I was just in the forest with Kev and I said, I don't really like that couch in the kitchen anymore. That was a Saturday. That couch was gone by Tuesday. Tuesday was Kev's next day off. That couch was gone within 3 days. That is what it's like to be married to Kev. If I say, I don't really like the way that this room is anymore, or I want to move my bed around or whatever, Kev gets up immediately and moves my room around as if he's moving a chair, the bed, the desk, whatever, heavy things, just flips them around, sorted. Gals, it's incredible. Regularly, Kev is a horticulturist, so my garden's gorgeous. Regularly, if things get a bit untidy, Kev takes the whole shed apart, puts it all back together. Under the stairs is the same. He sees that it's tidy. I don't need to tell him. I'm not his mum. He uses his own initiative and makes this gaff gorgeous for us all to live in. There are men that do that, and we should expect them to. We should absolutely expect them to. Think of all the things that we do. Now that I realise that there are men that do these things, I'm like, why are we expecting? The bar is in hell. My bar. It's amazing. So I was wrong to think that I would just have to get with some fucking idiot and tolerate him if I wanted to be in a relationship. There are gorgeous, safe, incredible relationships out there with men who carry the mental load, have initiative, help, love, support, encourage, help you live your dreams, problem solve for you, everything. It's all there for you. Don't settle. Don't settle. My life is amazing because I didn't settle. Easier said than done, I know, but I'm just letting you know it's possible. They're not all fucking idiots, so I was wrong about that. Anyway, that's my episode. There's 6% left on the battery on this camera, so I better wrap it up. Gals, thank you so much for tuning into the very first video episode of Healing Gals podcast. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And listen, before I go, this episode is a standalone episode. Season 6 will be coming in the next few weeks / months. I'm working full time. I'm going through perimenopause. We'll talk about all that in season 6 when we get there. I'm working on it. So in the meantime, maybe listen back to some older episodes. If this is your first time seeing Healing Gals podcast, there's 5 seasons of deadliness available to you. So go back and listen to them wherever you get your podcasts. And just please remember, you're good enough exactly as you are, and you deserve a great life. Okay? Bye, gals.